Welcome back to Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. So, at the end of the video today, you are going to have the experience, if you have been following along day by day for the past 49 days, today being the 50th day. At the end of the video today, it will be the end of the 50th video, which means that, wait, who's good at math here? You have 50 videos and you add another 50 videos, it's only 100. Okay, so tomorrow, all right. So tomorrow's video is the center video, the video between. So there's 50 videos, and then there's one, and then there's 50 more videos. Yes, tomorrow is the day of days, when we will reach the halfway mark. Amazing, and it will be like when we reach halfway through that video, that'll be the halfway mark, the actual halfway mark. Amazing. Look how far we've made it. It's really exciting stuff. Now, the other really interesting thing is that this really is the center, the centerpiece of the create crucial insight philosophy, the idea of creating insight. So, as you know, we have been talking about evaluating courses of action, and so like the whole mission of create crucial insight, it can be found in the preface, where it says to thrive or not to thrive, insight makes a difference. So the whole point is that we are going through the planning period, the planning process, and we are thinking about potential, and we are thinking about outcomes, and we are improving our thinking skills because we want to have insight. Now, like, if you're able to create insight, and then you can convert that insight into practical benefit, imagine how lucky you will be. You're able to create insight. It means that you are able to understand, and you are able to see, you are able to do in ways that other people can't see, and in ways that other people can't do. And then you can convert that into practical benefit. It means that you will thrive, not just survive, but you can thrive. You'll be doing much better than you could have done otherwise. Now, what does it really mean to improve your thinking skills? Like, what does it mean when Dr. Buchholz says you can improve your thinking skills with the use of his direct outcomes checklists? So it means that, like, okay, so the first time that you go through these videos, what you're doing is you're following these patterns. You are literally going through checklists, like one by one. And the reason that you go through checklists one by one is to make sure you don't miss ideas. He's taken the physics of these ideas and given you all of the elements that you can walk through these elements and make sure that you've thought about everything. And what happens is those parts of your brain start to light up. And the thing is that, like, as you go through these checklists over and over again through the months and through the years ahead, as you re-listen to these videos, and as you use the videos to do your planning, to think about your projects, your endeavors, as you if you call me, someday you'll be calling other advisors that'll help you go through these checklists. That these parts of your brain, these concepts, these themes, 101 themes, these themes will become alive in your mind. And as these themes become alive in your mind, then you are going to be able to make connections much quicker. You're going to be able to create insight much faster. And you are going to be able to understand much deeper because of practicing this process and of going through these checklists and learning about these themes. So I would like to invite you, in the preface, I have Dr. Buchholz's book here, and I'll just read it straight out of the book. It says, if you would like help, if you would like help other people benefit from direct outcomes. So this is like a direct invitation to help other people to benefit from direct outcomes. And that's something that I have taken him up on, his invitation for me to help other people work through the direct outcomes checklists. It also says, If you would like, tell me about successes your colleagues and you create via direct outcomes. So there is an invitation in this book to contact Dr. Thomas J. Buchholz, and I would also extend that invitation to you to send him an email. When you buy his book, you will find his you will find his email address. It's right here. You can find his website. You can contact him. I'm not sure. I email him. I'm not sure I don't think I have his phone number. I saw his phone number in his email, but I've never tried to call him before. We talked on Skype a couple times. So it's really interesting to be at this point of this process, at the nearing the halfway point. Now, remember the secret of investing. So, what's the secret of investing? Do not lose money, right? The secret of investing is not to lose money. And at the beginning of this book, Dr. Buchholz, he talks about some negative results that sometimes people experience. He said, too often, efforts fall short. People make statements such as the following: we could have achieved, we should not have tried, we did not think adequately well, we did not work together adequately well, we could have communicated better, we did not have adequate capabilities, we lost focus. This book provides ways to avoid or minimize such negative results. All right, so if you want to succeed in business, if you want to succeed in investing, avoid losing money. If you want to succeed in business, then avoid or minimize these negative results. And the way that you do that is by learning about these themes from the direct outcomes checklists. Now, as you know, we have been working with the state teamwork checklist, and on your paper, at the top, you've written down what? You've written down the names of 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, or you've described that group. Next, you've written down the outcomes. What are these people, what are these entities looking for? And then today, it's the next theme. All right, so today's theme is entities also want. Now, what could they possibly also want? Remember from the endeavor elements. At the top, we have create effects. And the create effects have 3 points. Number 1 is to do it, to act, to carry out the plans. Next is to what? Achieve outcomes. And finally, the last one is to foster reuses. Now this reminds me of I have this little dream, this little plan to go to the south part of Russia, and I would like to buy a little bit of land. I'd like to plant a garden. I'd like to raise some animals. I work mainly online, so why not live out in the countryside? I'd like to learn Russian. I'd like to continue to learn Russian. I'd like to continue to learn about Russian history. I'd like to continue to understand how decisions were made at pivotal points of Russian history, and also start to look at how countries around the world and governments are making decisions at these pivotal points in our current time. And then what? So these are the outcomes that I want, right? So what's next? What are the reuses? All right, so how can I reuse? Well, I'm planting vegetables. I can eat them. I could also, I could make some pickles. I could sell pickles to the neighbors. I could raise animals. I can eat the animals. I can develop skills from this experience. I can create relationships with other people with these experiences. I can develop a bed and breakfast. Maybe someday I don't want to live there anymore. I can either sell the property or I can keep the property, turn it into a bed and breakfast, and maybe other people want to visit the property, spend some time on a little cottage, play with some animals, run around in the dirt. Maybe it's a country house in the future. I'll be able to fly back to Russia and enjoy time there, speaking Russian and enjoying relationships with local Russian people. So the reuse is, it's like, how do you think beyond the endeavor, right? When you're talking to these people, or when you are writing down the outcomes that these different groups want, when you're thinking about scenarios, remember we were talking about the state impact checklist originally. What is the impact of this choice? All right, so we have to first reframe the context. Next, we have to develop the scenarios. How do we develop the scenarios? Well, we need to talk about various outcomes that we could be reaching. What are the various outcomes that these different entities want? What are the reuses that they want to work towards? So I'll give you two examples from his book. So in one example, you have a provider. It is a staff search firm. And then you have a client, and it's the name of an organization. All right, so this is, you have your entity one, entity two. So entity one, it's the provider. Entity two, it's the client. You have a staff search firm. You have an organization. All right, so then what? Go down, you got entities want. All right, so they want outcomes. What does the provider want? The provider wants to earn fees. The provider wants to satisfy the client. All right, so obviously a staff search firm, they are providing candidates to be hired in an organization. When they satisfy the client, if they provide the client with staff, with people that have appropriate skills and great attitude, then they will earn fees. All right, simple. The client wants what? The client wants to hire an appropriate salesperson. And the client wants to contain costs. All right, so there's an example of hiring a salesperson. Now, there's a second example where you have the provider is a licensor of software, and the client is the licensee. So the licensor is the person who has created or is able to license the software. And then the licensee is, of course, the company who wants to use that software. Now, so what do the entities want? The licensor wants what? They want to satisfy the client. They want to earn profits. The client wants what? They want to acquire the use of useful software, and they want to contain costs. This is starting to sound pretty easy, pretty repetitive. All right, so likely when you are writing down what's going on with you and a provider, or your business and a provider, then you will also likewise write down things like the provider wants to earn fees, and they also want to satisfy the client, and you also want to take on that. You want to use their service, and you want to contain costs. So today's point is reuse. All right. So what happens in the first example? So the hiring the salesperson, the reuses. For example, the provider wants to gain what? Reuse, reputation. All right, so over the long term, as they are able to provide appropriate staffing services, they are going to develop a reputation, and they want other business with the client. So they want not only to hire for this one time, but they want to continue to offer that service. The client wants to what? The client wants to gain potential for growth in sales, revenue, and profitability. Okay, so that means that the client wants to actually use that new person in the business, and then be able to succeed in their business with that new hire. All right, so you see how you reuse each step of the way. You have different ways to explain what people want out of this business relationship. For the software example, the licensor, they want to provide, the provider wants to gain reputation and other business with the client. Wait a minute. All right. So it seems as though providers in general are trying to satisfy the client in order for them to earn profits. And over the long term, they want to improve their reputation so that they can get more business with the client. And it seems like the licensee, or the company who wants the new hire, they want to acquire the use of software, or they want to acquire the use of this hire. They want to bring on a new hire. They want to contain costs. And why? The client wants to gain productivity enhancements based in part on the use of the software. And then with the hire the sales person example, they wanted to to sell products. They wanted to improve that bottom line. All right, so that's the basic framework of. Now, the thing is, like, what does that mean specifically for you and your business? Like, what are the outcomes? Can you go further? Can you go beyond those basic ideas of what is going on? What are the outcomes that people want? And try to understand the motives behind people's businesses. So the last point I wanted to make was like, how can you understand? For example, if you're talking about your client, how can you really understand your client? Is there a way to better understand the outcomes that your clients want? What are the benefits that they want from your product? And are there things that you can do to find out how to improve your benefit? Is there some way to connect with your client a little deeper in order to be able to provide that benefit for them? Is there a way to improve the communication between your client or the people in your company in order to really understand those outcomes? And then is there a way for you to look deeper and further into the future and try to really pinpoint those reuses? Because often, if you can think further into the future and really start to pinpoint those reuses, it'll influence the quality and the attitude that people have while working with current outcomes. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. The middle point of this 101 day challenge. I remember at the beginning of this, I remember I was like, I don't think I can do this. I really don't think. And even now, like at day 50, I'm still kind of like, this is tough. This is really tough. But I'm sure it's also tough for you to follow these videos and to spend some time writing down your thoughts and making changes in your business so that you can thrive. This is Space Between Ideas. I'm Blank Gates.